Hello everybody and welcome to this week's DampSam Reacts, and I hope you've had a brilliant week, and I hope that you've done everything that you said you were gonna, and I hope you did it well. So that's a good welcome from me, DampSam. This week we've got a treat for you. So I know everybody thinks I rinse plasterers. I've seen this guy. I think I might have done a video on him before. I can't remember. I've done that many. But and they're all getting muddled up in my head now. But I think I have done a video of him before. I don't know what they call him, so apologies, whatever your name. Plastering for Beginners, I'm going to call him. So he does a series called Plastering for Beginners. I think he's been doing it a few years now, so it's probably plastering for... what do they call it now? Plastering for... There's beginner, intermediates. So he must be onto intermediates now. So I think he might have changed title. Plastering for intermediates. But we all know fucking plasterers, don't we? And it should be plastering for remedials or something like that, because as everybody knows, plaster has got a special ingredient in that makes plasterers fucking stupid and thick as fuck and just lunatics. Every plasterer that I know, especially around here where they've got lead in tap water, are absolute cranks, and the way mind me for saying it, because they know who they are. Yeah, there's it's been proven there's something in plaster, in powder, and it sends you absolutely pots for rags. So just a word of warning, you plastering for beginners, if you become a plasterer, make sure you wear your dust mask, because once you start breathing that finish dust in, it turns you into a raving lunatic. So let's get him on. I wish I knew his name, but obviously my research don't run to that. I'm a busy man. I ain't got time to be going looking names up. So come on, Plastering for Beginners. Show us how to plaster from scratch. No problem, he says on title. Well, I'll be the fucking judge of that, Mr. Plasterer.
Right, this is what we're dealing with. It's the one...
He's just said right, so I don't know. I think it might be a funny one. This right. I think he's from Manchester or over that way. I shouldn't take my mickey out of his accent, should I? I mean, I've got probably one of the worst accents in China, if you can believe, if you can believe it, and if nobody's heard of a China accent before, this is what it is. I'm fluent.
Wonkiest wall I've ever seen.
It's not wonkiest wall I've ever seen, mate. It's seen a lot worse than that, a lot worse. And you've even got a painted surface on there, so this is going to be interesting, isn't it? I mean, what I'll say is this, look, painted surface, whatever you do, don't put PVA on it, mate. It needs to be SPR, and you want to be putting it on round about fucking neat, because you want something that's going to stick to that. If you water it down, it's going to run, and it's going to bead up, and it's not going to cover all surface. So, whatever you do, don't be putting fucking PVA on a painted surface. Well, don't put it on wall anyway. It's shite. It goes back to its liquid form when you get water vapour going through it, especially if you've put a bit of water in it. And a lot of these PVAs are watered down to fuck anyway. So that's your first tip.
We've got white paint. We've got existing.
It's not just white paint. It looks like white gloss paint. Yeah.
And if you just look down that, you can see that it is absolutely all good. Makes you wonder about it, doesn't it?
Hang on a minute. That's one brick that's fucking hanging out. Just get your fucking chisel. All you have to do, wipe that off with fucking hammer and bolster, and it'll be flat to wall. It's one brick that's... If you look at all rest of brickwork there, rest of brickwork is fairly level. When they build an house, they do build them level, and sometimes you might get a bit that's stuck out, and that looks... There, look, if you look here, so this bit here looks like a snotter, some kind of snotter and something that's stuck out. That looks like it might have been like a shelf, or I'm wondering if at some point this area here, because this is, I see a lot of old houses, this area here might have been an outhouse and they've moved door here at some point, and this is why you've got this painted brickwork, because it had been probably a toilet or, I don't know, a store, and that were probably cold shelves, so there had been like a stone slab built into both walls or something like that. So that's my thinking. All you have to do, hammer and bolster, whip it off, and it'll be tighter tip brickwork. Simple. It's just a simple thing.
It's not great. So we've got a lot of work here.
Not that one.
And
look, so this bit here, what was stuck out, I think that was stuck out. So, yeah, just whip them off with bolster. That's all I do. Straight round, bang, 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 bang. Whip them off. Not a problem.
he wants it all done in solid. So there's no plasterboard, no board adhesive. It's all going to be solid plastering. So in today's video,
I'm fucking tempted. I'm tempted to take him off, but I know that you're out there and think that I'm bullying. So, but I am fucking tempted. Just telling you, all right. But I'm not gonna do. I'll save that for later on.
today's video, we'll try and sort this out. Okay, so today the product we'll be using is this British Gypsum Hardwall. It's designed for floating brickwork and get.
Hang on a minute. Thistle Hardwall. We've just seen that he's got a gloss finish on that painted brickwork, and where he's got his hand there, I don't know if you noticed it before. Just rewind it and you'll see it. It says for medium to high suction backgrounds. Right? A high suction background is somewhere that when you put water on it, it sucks hot water straight away and then evaporates straight off. Not like a fucking gloss painted wall. If you put water on it, it just beads up and runs off. That's not a high suction background. So let's see how he's going to go on. Because listen, I'm not going to prejudge it. Well, I am doing. that's the whole point of video, isn't it? But yeah. So I've put listen, all your plasterers out there, you'll have seen this before, and you'll have done it. You put out that's like a bit thicker on a gloss background, it's going to just slide. It's going to just slide down wall. And then you're all pulling your fucking hairs out because you're all thinking, it's stressing you out thinking about job that you've done before. Or I'm thinking that, but I think I'm more talking about older ones because I've just realised that there's not many people put actual full walls of backing plaster on. I'm looking at that. How big's that fucking bag? That's definitely not a 25 kg. Either that or his hands are fucking huge. His hand's nearly as big as bag, isn't it? That's fucking 25 kg bags are bigger than that. Definitely. Size of his hands.
I'm getting, it's an undercoat plaster. Purely designed for brickwork. But we've got a problem.
Purely designed for high suction background brickwork. And I've preempted him, haven't I? Because I've just said we've got a problem.
Where this is painted,
Yeah.
it's got a seal on. So what I've done is I've SBR'd all the wall.
Can't say what, can I? He's SBR'd it. Top man. I'm liking him now. I'm warming to him.
Usually you just keep the brick as it is and just render directly onto it. But because this needed SBR, I've decided to do it all. So that way the suction will stay the same. What you don't want is one half of the wall pulling in faster than the other. So I've SBR'd the whole area.
Hiya. DampSam here. Did you know if you want to watch a full unedited version of this, if you become a Damp fan, $2.99, which is as much as an expensive cup of coffee up here, you can watch a full unedited version of this. Nah, let's get back watching this bit, eh? See you in a bit. I mean, that's not one of the reasons why I had SBR. It is right what he says, but it's mainly for finishing plaster. But the reason why you SBR it, the reason why you use SBR, I've mentioned it before, PVA will go back to its liquid form. Once you've put it on, then you put your backing on, when water vapour passes through fabric as a gas like it does, if it condenses on brickwork, then it'll turn that PVA back into liquid, or it can turn. I'm not saying it will do every time, it can do. And then once it turns back to liquid behind plaster, it debonds from masonry, and that's when you get kind of blowing. So once it don't just do it all at once, there'll be little areas, and then you get a bit of air, and then it'll debond. So that's what happens, people.
I'm going to mix up a load of hardwall. And for what you do with hardwall, you have 2 coats. You have 1 coat as a base coat, which you spread throughout. You let that pull in, and then you put the top coat on. But because this wall is so bad, we're going to have...
So when I was plastering, and in my prime, back in 80s, 90s, and a bit of 2000s, first coat were called a scratch coat. And you got taught it were a scratch coat at college. You could have a dubbing art coat. They call it and I never like that word. For me, you dub it. They used to say dubbing art. So if there were like some hollers, you'd put that in, and then you'd put your scratch. So you'd fill out hollers first, and I mean they'd have to be big. So you'd put a bit on them, all of your walls with hollers one. They used to show you going round with straight edge. And then you'd put your scratch coat on. But for me, it's just one fucking coat. Just like, you know, your scratch coat and then your top coat. And then you fill all other bits in when you rule up or rule across.
A big section, just try and get the initial area flat, and then we're going to have to go on top of it to try and get it plumb. So it's going to take a lot of work, but we can do it. So I'm going to get a big mix on. I'm just getting through it.
And I mean, he's mixing it up now, but all I'll say is it's not a fucking church and it's not an hospital. So you don't really have to get it fucking plumb. You just need to get it straight. Plumb means vertically, I want to say vertically level. This is just plumb. That's what we call it. Sort of, if you put level on and bubbles in right place, that's plumb. It don't really need to be that, because it's a fucking just a wall. Do you know what I mean? You can get it straight, and then you eye it in with angle, and if it looks fucking not piss, then straighten it up a bit more. Do you know what I mean? But it's not a church, it's not a fucking hospital, it's his mate's house. So just get it on, get it straight in angle, so it's, when you look at your angle when you come in, so it looks straight, and it's straight with your straight edge, and then you do your skirting line and your ceiling line, and then across your wall. So don't be trying to get it too fucking bang on. Do you know what I mean? You'd be there putting coat after coat after coat on. There's a way to do it to get it plumb, and our friend in Liverpool, Mr. Trowel on the Trowel, he's told you how to do it, which is you put plums and dots on and that kind of stuff. So I did it at college. You put a what we called a dot, and you put a piece of wood in it, and then you sort of hung a weighted, you hung a weight into a bucket of water or into some water, and that were how you got it straight before you had a level. But we had levels at college. So you put a dot at top, dot at bottom. They told us to put one in the middle as well. You make sure that they're plumb, and then you straighten them across bottom at wall, marry them up, and then at far side at wall, in middle if it's a big wall. Then you put like a screed down, and then you rule that off, and then you rule upwards. So that was how to get it absolutely bang on. But it's his mate's fucking house. You don't need to be. You don't need to be like that. You can just get, make sure it's right. Else you're just going to be there forever and ever and ever, especially being a young'un, you know what I mean? So make sure Wall angle's right, skirting line, ceiling line, other wall angle, and then just straighten it in between. Make sure it's straight rather than plumb. That's just how I think. Unless you've been directed or instructed that it's got to be fucking plumb. It's got to be plumb. Then you'd do that. Not many fucking people instruct you to have it fucking bang on plumb. But if you're a perfectionist, crack on that. You do that. But I'm trying to save you some time and some money. So make sure you find out what they're wanting, client's instruction, customer's instruction, and then work to that. Just to put this out there, and older plasterers know this, we used to have to fucking mix this stuff up in a bath. We had to mix it up in a bath. There were 50 kg bags. They were like coffins. You split them. And when I say a bath, on site they used to have a fucking proper bath. It were a bath that had been took out of a house. And they used to put scrim, which what cotton scrim. They used to dip it in finished plaster, put it in plug hole, let it set, so that when you poured your water in, it didn't go straight out. And one of the worst things were, if you were mixing upstairs, they'd always put you in a small bedroom, all fucking massive bags piled up in small bedroom. You could hardly fucking move, couldn't swing a cat, and then you'd be shoveling from one end to other, put a bit of water in, and then all of a sudden, you put your water in, and then you shovel, and you fucking finish with screaming and lifted it out, and it just starts pissing out, then coming through the ceiling. And your older plasterers, you'll have done that before, and your heart sinks. You're trying to fucking get something to stop it in, just screaming and shouting downstairs. That when I was an apprentice, I'd be about 16, 17 and 18. Fucking nightmare. And kids, you don't know you're born. And I get, like, that were my era. Then before that, it were even fucking worse, because they were having to put lats on and all sorts. But, yeah. Mixing drill, whisk. It's a fucking dream. It's a dream to be a plasterer now. I know it's hardest trade on planet, but it's easier now. That's what I'll say. Hiya, it's DampSam here. I've just come on just to tell you that DampSam.com is now up and running. We've got the Express damp proofing system course, designed by me, run by me, done by me. You can buy that. We've got the ultimate guide to black mold and condensation. You can pay what you want for it. And we've also got 3 free ebooks. And also we've got a guide to basement conversions, the ultimate guide to damp proofing, and also the podcasting series. You can get in contact with them, and the YouTube membership. Enjoy it, rest of your film.
Okay, so the first stage is just dubbing out the wall. We've obviously got a lot of low spots, a lot of high spots, but the first stage, you want to get initial coat flat. So this is kind of one section we worked up to. That's just one coat, flattened it off. So now I've got something to work with. It's not perfect yet, but it'll be good enough for the second coat. So that's what we're aiming for here. And then you've just kind of got to do it by eye. I know there's a massive low spot there, another spot here.
He's right. He's had straight edge on that, because you can see where he's kind of chopped it off. And one of the things is, these like holler, these are what we call hollers. So these hollers here, when you go over it with straight edge, this is how you know what needs a bit more on. So you'd run across with your straight edge. It looks like he's done like a chopping motion. I never liked that, me. Mine were more like a wavy motion, like that. So I kind of wave it up. It's hard to explain. But anyway, so these bits just need a bit more. But he's putting a second coat on anyway. So if it were me, especially with it being a wall what's like sort of low suction, I'd have just fucking put it all on in one. Not one coat, but I'd have just put it all on together before I started with straight edge. He started with straight edge a bit earlier, but that might be just so he knows how much to put on.
So this is hard wall, like we said, and it's mixed quite thick. So we're just aiming to fill in them low spots. It dries relatively fast. So we're just going to work on the sections at a time.
What I'll set here is this, kids, as well. Now, I don't know whether this is camera is using camera other way around. I might be wrong. Because when I've had camera other way around, it looks like I'm left-handed. So this guy might be left-handed, and it's making him look right-handed. But it looks as if he's... And he might be doing it right way. But with backing plaster, you go from right, top right corner, first right to left. You don't go left to right. It's right. This is if you're right-handed. It's right, top right corner, start, and then work your way down and then across. It's not left to right. It's left to right for skimming. But I can't tell whether this is just because it's camera's wrong way around. But yeah, if he is doing it that way around, it's fucking wrong. And that's the law. It is wrong. It's right to left if you're right-handed.
Now, usually when we float in, you work right to left, but the light's better this way, so...
Fucking hell. It's like we're talking to each other, innit? I don't get that. I don't get it, because the reason why you go right to left is you pull it back onto itself. Yeah, I don't get that. Light's better. No, I'm not having it. Fucking Windows over to his left. No. I don't get it.
Do it the other way around. So we're just building out the sections first. Don't be too fancy about it, we're just chucking it on.
Yeah.
Try and get it straight-ish, but
yeah.
Top first, already done it.
One thing I've noticed is, like, especially with elite weight plaster like that, is fucking trowels is probably about a fucking 11-inch. It's 11-inch trowel. You might as well be using a midget trowel to fucking put it on with. I'd have had that on probably, what would it take me? 10 minutes. I'd have lashed it on 10 minutes. You need a bigger handboard, a bigger fucking trowel, especially for something like that. You want like something like 16, 18 inch. And that'll put it on. And because you've got a big trowel as well, it gets it straighter as well. He's fucking about there, putting a bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here. Get a bigger trowel, get to the gym, get some fucking muscles, and then you can get it on quicker. That's all I'll say. Always keep yourself fit, kids. Especially if you're going to be a plasterer. There's no... There's no place for unfit people in plastering. Red card. If you're unfit, out you go. We don't want you doing your little fucking walls, Mrs. Miggins. We want proper people who's going to put some proper miles on.
The top section. And kind of just by eye.
What?
For now, gauging where the spots are.
Then aye. Why? Get that bit, it's dropping.
And the
off.
reason you use hard
Put
wall
that on,
is
it's fell back on its then.
For floating walls.
Right, so I'll just show you. So he's put this bit of bottom here where this wall is. He's not pressed again. He's not pressed on hard enough. He's put it on with his fucking paper, blue hands. His blue paper ends, and it's fucking fell back on its end. He's not put pressure on. Pressure! That's what my old college teacher used to say. Pressure, Sam! Put some pressure on! And that's why, because if you don't, it rolls back on its end, and it's not bonded to brickwork. And it's probably dropped on floor, and it's probably paddling in it.
Ideally, we would have had the brick. We would have just soaked it in, and
That cunt. Somebody
Work
burgling
directly on
him
that with a bit of water.
at back.
But the good thing about hardwall is it lasts longer in the mix. It's not like bonding, it doesn't dry out very fast. You can build it out quite thick. It's a very lightweight product. And in my opinion, it's a lot nicer to use than bonding.
Oh, definitely. We agree there, mate.
Okay, so we've got a section on. I've applied the plaster, generally got it flat, but now it's to rule it. So, looking for any high spots to go off.
Actually, I'd have gone up first.
Take away the high spots first.
I'd have gone up first, and then across.
Back in the bucket.
I don't know. It's either or, innit?
And then, again, from the middle to the bottom. Reaching out for the pipes. And then up.
Has he not gone to the bottom? He didn't bend right down then, did he?
Now,
It's one quite in this.
the aim of this is to get it generally quite flat. You don't need it to be perfectly flat.
You said it needed to
So
be
I'm gonna put
fucking
another coat on.
plumb. Are you fucking
The
lying?
flatter we get it now, the easier the second coat's going to be because it's got a nice base to work on. So,
Look at the pipes. You said
now
there was-
we've reeled it off. Let's have a little look. It's flat-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a good base to work off. So, now we've got to really just leave it because there's some areas that are really thick due to the bellies and the undulations. So, continue putting that first coat for on the rest of this wall.
Let's get some
and then
water
you
on
come
that,
back
mate.
on yourself. But even this section at the beginning is still quite wet. So we've got to let that take up now because of the areas that are really,
I think there's going to be a bit of
really
sliding
quite
going off
thick.
here.
If you put more render plaster on top of it, it's just going to have too much weight and fall off the wall.
Slide.
So you've got to let that take that up now. So I'm going to carry on all the way down the way we have been, put that base coat on and then touch it again, see how it's feeling. If it's too wet, might have to leave it again. Just because of the sections with the thickness, you don't want to be adding too much weight to it, it'll just fall off.
Definitely.
Do that.
I'm just looking if he's damped it down properly. Does look damp. You've got to, especially if it's masonry like that, that looks dry and will pull in. You've got to make sure when you wet it down, it's got to be wet enough so that when you throw the water on, it just starts to bead back off. So that's how wet you want your wall. You don't want it piss wet through, but you want it so that when you just throw in, it's not soaking in, it's just starting to roll back off. What? Somebody just walked back? Another? Walking past. It's killing me, I'm going wrong way with that.
Okay, so we've got the length on. That's all good. Again, not perfect yet, but
It's leaving it.
it's a lot better base to work with than what we had before. So now I'm going to mix a new batch, and this time we're going to start getting it flat and plumb. So
You're not going to scratch
I'm going to have
it?
a quick look on the level now, see how we're doing, and quickly gauge it. But I'm going to get a mix on, we're going to start getting it on straight away. So this section now
I meant plum, not
is
wet.
dried pretty nicely. It's got a nice touch to it. Still a bit wet, so
that's where it's
we don't
gonna
really
fall
have to
off.
worry about keying it up. It's got wet, it's got its rough patches, but we can go straight on there now. So
need to
it's
key
picked
it.
up,
You need to
got
put a
its own
scratch
weight,
on it.
can work straight on it. I mean,
get what
I'm
he's
debating, I
saying.
might just key it up anyway.
Yeah.
I might put a mechanical key in, because it's quite a long length.
He's got that wrong and all. It's not a mechanical key, ladies and gentlemen. Mechanical key is your PVAs and your SBRs, what he's already put on. This is a physical key, not a mechanical key. So he's going to put a scratch on it. And what we used to have to wave it like that. Oh, that's that? Eh? Cool, isn't it? But you'd have it like that. Oppenheimer. So, yeah. So he'll put a scratch on and hopefully he'll do that kind of wavy motion. And reason why you do that wavy motion, folk knows. I used to ask all the time at college, why do you have to do that? It's something to do with holding better. I think they just used to fucking make it up, because I'm sure if you just go straight, I don't know. I've done them straight and it's never fell off. So, but I am used to doing it like that, wavy. Yeah. So mechanical key, PVA, and any glues, SBRs, physical key, because he's physically putting it on. So I hope he's learnt something like that, because I know he'll be watching, because we're all vain. We all watch stuff what's about us, and somebody will tag him in this. So hiya, you all right, mate? Yeah, doing so far.
I don't want this to be too dry, so when I apply my second coat, it's not going to key it. So actually thinking about it, I'm going to give it a quick key with a scratcher, and then carry on from there. So I'm going
for fucking out for a quick key. All right, mate. Yeah, I fucking know. Anyway, changed his mind, didn't he? Knew we were doing video for beginners. He needs to tell them right. He needs to be telling them right way to do it. I reckon he said he weren't going to do it, and his mate's gone, you need to fucking key it. You're going to look a right rough cunt if you don't.
Now this is just a scratcher.
Yeah, wavy.
You don't usually have to
Harry.
do this with hardwall, but I've just got a feeling where the first section
I
is
got a
quite dry.
feeling.
I'm going to give it a bit of a scratch, so just want to rub this all the way through.
All that scratching's
And then we know
making
the
me
second
itch.
coat has got something to sit on, because the second coat is still going to be quite thick to get over some of the lumps that are still showing. So there's still some break at the top that's quite bulbous, so we still need to put a bit of thickness on.
Bulbous.
Despite having some areas that are, a good inch thick already, so I'm just going to do it because of that, because we still need thickness. Again, hardwall overall thickness is usually about 12 mil, roughly the same thickness as plasterboard. But because of the conditions of these walls and the state of them, we've just needed to do a lot thicker and just treat it differently. This has been a total different job to what it would have been if it was just floating a standard wall. So again, I'm going to rule it because it's going to be a fair bit of thickness. So I predict it's going to be another like 8 mil, probably 10 max on there. So it's still quite a lot to hold. So giving it a key will give that top coat some.
See, what I was talking about is in corners. So that don't look too bad. It's just a bit, this bit from this bit of corner plasterboard to here looks a bit thinner than say that bit. So when I was saying about make sure it's right there, so you'd make sure that distance from there to there is looking same all the way down. So you know what I mean. You put a bit more on, or you maybe take a bit off there, put a bit more on, and just make sure that with anybody's eye, when they first look at that, it don't look out. So this is what I'm saying about getting wall angle right. So you do it that side, you do it other side, and then skirting line and ceiling line. And then I suppose in between, that'll sort it out, once you get straight edge on and rubbing it up. But and that would make your wall kind of flat both ways. But it don't have to be fucking bang on plumb, like he was saying to start with. It's not a fucking church, and it's not a fucking what other thing? Castle. Palace.
It's grip too, but like I said, normal hardwall, you put a thin coat, first coat on, and then come back to the beginning, put a top coat on just to bring it to around 12 mil. You don't need it this thick. This is because I've just had too much to build.
So it's just said that you put a thin coat on, and then did you say thin coat, then a thick coat? That's just totally not how you do stuff. You put your thicker coat on first, and then thinner coats as you're coming away. That's basics of plastering, because if you put a thinner coat then a thicker coat, that means when it sets, the first coat is going to be weaker than the second coat. That's your principles. That's your principles of rendering. You always do a thick and then a bit thinner, a bit thinner, a bit thinner, or weaker and weaker and weaker, as we said. And that can be, if it's a render, you can do. You could do a 4-in-1. Sorry, you could do a 3-in-1, and then a 4-in-1, and then a 5-in-1, then a 6-in-1 if you're building it out, because you need your next coat to be weaker and your next coat to be weaker. Also, things start working once it starts drying out, and that's when what can lead to blowing and things.
Build out
Cracking.
on. So I'm getting this on, get another mix on, and we're going to show you how to get the next bit flat. Oh, let's have a little look. We've got a level up against it there. I don't know if you can see that, but
Yeah, spot on, mate.
it is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
And that's because when they built these fucking walls, they did build them plumb. Do you know what I mean? It's only because they had some bits that were stuck out. The actual wall were fucking plumb, but he had some bits that were stuck out more than others. And it weren't near the door where he had fucking straight edge on one. It were in the middle of the wall. So yeah. So this is it. Most brickworks built fairly plumb because you build an house fucking plumb. And brickwork inside is mainly going to be plumb, but you might have some bits that stick out that can be just stuck, whopped off or whatever, or chopped off, or so. Yeah. And when people say to me, you know what I mean, I can't see any straight edges and stuff, because if you've got a fucking 8x4 board and you're putting it onto masonry, once you've got all sort of bits that stuck out, odd bit that stuck out, when that goes against wall, it's going to be same plumbness as wall, because it's a big sheet. This is what some thick fuckers don't understand. You know what I mean? I didn't go to fucking college for fucking 15 years on trot to not know how to put boards on wall.
in terms of level, we've got a few dips in the middle, but generally that is actually quite straight to now. And it's saying it's level. Let's move up a little bit, see where we are overall. Same. It's very good actually.
Yeah.
So, despite the wall being all over the place, there was a base he worked off, so I'm guessing the bricks, despite being, all over the place, there's a bit out there actually, so I could probably pull the top in a little bit here.
Not a fucking engineer. Not already to fucking A for a millimetre. Fucking hell. There's a bit out there. It's alright, that, mate.
So the bottom may be a bit more thickness, but generally we're looking pretty good. So we don't actually need loads of thickness. I'm going to pull it out, maybe add another 8mm or something, just bring out some of the dips. But yeah, we've got a pretty good base now, despite having a bad start. So let's get the second coat on, start ruling it and start getting it plumb. Show you using this. Wall so far has already used 7 bags of hardwall, which is a lot really. So that's how much it takes floating out. There's another 1 3/4 bag. So this coat is going to be a lot thinner compared to what we've just done, but still, it mounts up. There's a lot of plaster used here and a lot of water. Okay, so in terms of the mix is a bit thinner this time because we don't have as much thickness to build out. So we don't need it that thick. Again, I've already done the tops, and that we're doing is trying to get a flat base, a flat layer of plaster. And we want to keep it pretty close to where we already had it, because we know this section of the wall's quite plumb. So we're just adding an even application, and it's so nice doing some proper plastering. I'm going to so many houses where it's all plasterboard and no one really does a solid base of plaster anymore, so it's nice to do some old school solid plastering.
Fucking stressful though, isn't it? It's stressful doing backing, you know what I mean? And listen, it is nice doing a bit of solid plastering if you're fucking getting paid right, do you know what I mean? If he's he's just put 7 bags on just for a scratch coat. So, I mean, how much is a bag of drywall now? Hardwall now. I ain't got a fucking clue. Is it a tenner? So that's 70 quid. And then he's probably got another 3 bags to go on, 4 bags to go on. It's 150 quid. what will he charge for per day? And he's gonna be there at least 2 days doing that wall. So he'll be on 300, won't he? That's 600, 700, throw another 100, so 800 quid for that wall probably. Will he get it?
Because unfortunately no one really uses it anymore. It's all just plasterboard because it's faster, and you know, I suppose it is cheaper using just plasterboard.
It is.
It's a more
quicker.
expensive option using
Less
hard
mess.
wall in the long run. But
Some people want to be old school. I did an house a few years ago for old Clive. He used to have a garage in town. He built this house in Cawthorne. Just wanted me to do it. Wanted it all doing in hard wall, all fucking lot. And it was a 5-bedroom. Well, it was a 5-bedroom, but it had I think 3 rooms in attic, and he had a snooker room up in attic, and it all had to be strengthened and everything. And he wanted just me to do it, so I worked him a day rate price, and I did everything hard wall. And old Clive, who was an engineer, and he wanted everything bang on, so and that's why he wanted me to do it. And I didn't just go in and start plastering. We did a bit at a time. So we did attic, and then we did next floor down, and I kept going back for months and months and months. He'd do a bit, and then would be art again, and they'd do a bit more. So you have got some people who want to do that. And the reason why he wanted it doing in that, he says, because when he drills an hole in plasterboard, there's a gap. So he wanted solid walls on his house. Cost him a fair few pence, but he was a satisfied customer at the end of the day.
such a better product. So yeah, the mix is sloppier, slightly wetter, sorry. We've got a nice base to work on, and the first coat is still actually quite damp. So this hard wall is sticking nicely to itself. Again, when you're doing any floating work or rendering, you usually work right to left, but
I mean, one thing that's frustrating for me is putting stuff on, and it's about a foot. If it's less than a foot that he's putting on at a time, and that's because he's got a fucking tiny plasterboard and a tiny trowel. When I'm putting it on, the fucking big strokes will lash it on. That's how I was always taught to fucking get it lashed on. You're lashing it on this way, that way. Some of it bare legal. Just get it on. But he's like doing a little fucking strokes. Little bit there, little bit there, little bit there. Get it fucking lashed on. Buy some proper tools. Get it fucking lashed on, lad. Yes.
that's a lot better on this side, so I've had to cheat it a little. So in this coat, the plaster's going to go a lot further, which is another reason why you want it a bit sloppier. Gives you a bit more working time.
Not even a ruler's worth.
And
that's how I used to do it, second coat. I used to do it that way. So first coat were upwards, second coat were always across.
What you want to be using if you're doing any base work like this. It's a lovely product to use. If you've never used British Chips and Hardwall, it is beautiful. It rules really well.
Yeah,
Sticks,
beautiful.
it's very sticky, and it's very lightweight, which means you can really build it out. So I'm going to whack this section on, I'm going to rule it off and get it nice and flat and plumb.
You have to fucking knock about then.
Render on. Now I want to rule it. This is a feather edge. This is an aluminium feather edge. It's called a feather edge, it's basically...
Right, so everybody were getting on at me for calling, I said plastering, that woman on video that I did, and I said she was plastering, so I'd said she'd been plastering, and fair enough, she was rendering. He's calling that fucking render. He's saying, I got it render on. Listen, you can have it this way, that way, plaster here, render there. Yeah.
Straight edge, this is just the type of feather edge I'm using. So do the first round, come in again.
I said I wouldn't.
So you go one way, get rid of the load.
This way, that way. Some of it barely
Just
legal.
scraping off the plaster from the straight edge here. Putting it back into the mix.
See, I've got one of them. It's fucking 3 meters. It's massive. 3 meters.
So go one way, do the bottom.
That's how we used to plaster. Bite rate stuff. That's
And
not
then
even as
we
tall
want
as
it
him.
on up. So going horizontally. Taking your time. I can't go any higher than that. So we go vertically, horizontally, and then just do a little check under the buttons.
Though people used to use derbies, and they didn't have straight edges like that. They just had a derby. Bloke I used to work with, Brian, he'd get it fucking straight into that, just with derby, and faster. And you used to, with derby, it had two handles. You take it off one place, put it on another, take it off here, put it on another. And you couldn't do with them because they've got like a bevel on them. Cause it's actually called a feather edge. And they used to use them for getting finished straight, believe it or not. Come on, get it out at road. I want to have a look at that handle. Come on, let's have a look. Right. So, looks fine. When you eye it in, same distance all the way down. Not wrong with that, mate.
Got a bit of a dip here, so I've got to fill it out, flatten it again, but generally it's okay. So that section's flat. Check the rule. A little bit of plaster on it actually.
See, that'd be lovely to rub up. It might stay wet for a bit though.
It's still very wet, so you've got to be pretty gentle, but we're pretty good. So it's flat. You've got the rule on and it's plumb.
Not a fucking church.
So again, we're just going to carry on through with that same motion now and just get the rest of it done. The render does last a lot further in this, so it's less mixing. You can get it done faster. So let's carry on.
Little fucking faggy strokes. Oops. Delete that art. Shouldn't have said that. I meant like as big as cigarettes.
Okay, so the wall's floated, it's flat, it's plumb, but we've got one more thing to do. We've got to apply a key. So this is a devil's float. It's basically a float with some screws or nails put into place. Whilst your render's still tacky, you put the float flat to the wall, and then do figure of 8 motions. Now what we're doing, we're basically floating the wall whilst applying a key. So we're pulling off any high spots and we're filling in any low spots because the render's still a bit wet, it's still playable. So we're doing 2 things. Applying a key whilst getting the wall flatter, basically.
Yep.
So you've got to be careful to not do it too late because the render will be too hard. If you do it too early, you'll just pull it off. So a good rule of thumb is, especially on the edges, it's very important because this is an area that
straight back up.
can get messed up. You want your external angles to be dead flat, and then we just work in the area and getting it all nice and flat. Again, another reason to use hardwall, it floats very well. It's quite creamy. It's a nice product to use a float on. So yeah, you do that throughout, you do it all the way through. That means when it comes to plastering, you've got a key to work to.
Skimming, when it comes to skimming.
And it'll stick. So that is devil's float. That's another tip. Make sure you do it for hardwall because you need a key to plaster on. Now you're right. Right, so it's dried up nicely. Now, it's still damp, but when you put your fingers in, it's not leaving any indentations.
Sure,
that's the best time to start skimming it. What I did do is before you start, take your trowel and you just want to cut back any of the high
spots. That's too fucking wet to skim, mate.
But you just got out the edge of your trowel.
Hang on, let me stop this. That is too wet to fucking skim. You should be skimming that next day. It's just gonna fucking bubble up. You can't be skimming that fucking same day. No, it's too wet. What? No. Always wait out next day. And I mean, that weren't fast setting stuff, and it's fucking piss wet through. There's no suction on it. This is going to be a nightmare for him.
I'll roll it up. Keeps the wall flat, but it also cuts back any of the offcuts that were left when you scratched it up. So, that is the ideal time to start plastering. It's ideal to do it on the same day.
It's
and
not.
when you put your pressure on, it doesn't leave in any indentation. So I'm going to mix up my finished plaster.
No.
We're going to apply it. One note, when you are plastering onto hardwall.
Right, anybody out there, check in British Gypsum, white book, see what it says, how long it's got to be left before it's skimmed. It isn't fucking 3 fucking hours. I'll tell you that now. It's fucking 12 hours. No, I said 24 hours. Fucking 12 hours. I don't know where I've got 12 from. It's 24 hours, not fucking 12.
Seeing it a lot faster than if it was plasterboard. So, don't put too much area on when you plaster onto hardwall, because it pulls in a lot faster.
I mean, it must be doing it longest fucking day ever, because it's took him about, he's put SBR on, he's done a bit of prepping on wall, it's took him 3 or 4 hours to put backing on, 2 coats, and straighten it all up, and then he waited 3 or 4 hours, and then that finish is going to fucking take 3 or 4 hours. Unless he's going to use a fast setting one and put that overtime in, which you just shouldn't do, because it's going to be wet underneath and it's going to fucking be hard on top. Can't wait.
It dries a lot faster, so just bear that in mind. I'm going to have 2 separate mixes. Going to get the first coat on, mix another batch and get the second coat on. And there we go. Okay, so now we're on the final part. Obviously we've done all the backing work, and I've mixed up some multi-finish plaster. This is the plaster you need to be using for hardwall. You don't want to be using board finish. Multi-finish is the plaster to use on hard walls, sand, cement, and also existing walls. It's an all-round good plaster to use. But what I will say is, when you are applying a plaster, make sure you're getting it quite flat from the early stages, because the plaster does...
What I'll tell you is this. That is not the same day. He's not skimming that the same day. That's a lie. Because if that were only 3 to 4 hours old that he's had it on... And a lot of your plasterers will know this, because you'll have done it if you're old school or older plasterers. When you put even multi-finish onto a wall like that, it bubbles up straight away if it's that wet. And especially with background being wet. He's doing this next day. There's a lie. He's lying.
Pulling a lot faster on hardwall.
Yeah.
It's a very absorbent material, and it sets a lot faster than, say, if you were plastering on plasterboard. So when you're applying your plaster, try and get it as flat as possible, and try and get it on pretty fast as well, because, like I said, it does set. But saying that, because of the key given in, the plaster really grips to the hardwall. And in my opinion, the nicest finish I think you can get in plastering is plastering on either hardwall or sand cement. You've just got to realise that you do smaller areas, because it will pull in faster.
So he's saying best finish you can get is on hardwall. See, he needs to get out of it, doesn't he? Best finish you can get is on isotherm and on dry flex, something that he'll probably not know out about. This is more for your advanced plasterers. But after this year, more and more people is going to be skimming onto isotherm. You mark my words.
A good trick is, just when it's set, if you want a bit more time, you can spray a bit of hardwall on the water, and this will give you a bit more time with the plaster and help you control the suction. But generally, 2 to 3 hours later, the hardwall is still a bit damp, which gives you a bit of time and workability with the plaster. So you're applying it as flat as possible. I've gone all the way down the wall like this, and then obviously what I like to do is give it a good flatten for the second coat. My weapon of choice, obviously, the Ox Speed Skim. It's just a great way to get rid of any ridges or any high spots that were there to begin with.
Shouldn't be any high spots. You had it fucking.
You want to be getting your layers
plumb.
flat with hardwall. It isn't that forgiving. So even if it means spending a bit more time in the flattening process, because it pulls in so fast and it's got such a good key that when you come to apply your second coat, you need to make sure your first coat is nice and flat. So I've just ruled it horizontally and vertically as if we were ruling like I did in the other videos, and then we I've mixed a new batch of plaster. It's always good practice actually to mix a new batch of plaster hard wall. Again, you don't really want to be using the same mix. You want it to be quite sloppy, which gives you a bit more playing time and a bit more room to work with. So yeah, mixed up a new batch, and again, applying it pretty fast onto your first coat. You don't really want to be waiting around, because that first coat can pull in quite fast with hardwall. You don't really want to be wasting time. So jumped on it, flattened it, mixed the new batch up immediately, and then straight onto it. Again, getting it as flat as possible to begin with. And it's just making sure that the plaster you're putting on the wall is, is flat. I mean, if you want a video on this, I'll put a video up on this just on the right hand side. I did a tutorial on how to apply plaster, so if you need help with that, you can watch that video. You should just see it popping around here somewhere. Generally, that is how you apply the plaster, and then the process afterwards is pretty simple and pretty easy. Okay, so that's the plaster applied. That's all of it on. Now, what I want to be doing is flattening it. I'm going to get the speed skin back on it. Now, one thing I will say about hardware, like I said before, it does pull in quite fast. So make sure you get it flattened fast, because you don't want it to turn. All them lines, they will show through. So flatten it fast, but what I will say, it's lovely plastering onto it. It just grips the plaster because of all that key. The mechanical key we made with the devil's coat, it really grabs onto it.
Physical key. Not a mechanical key. Physical key. Physical beta. Physical beta.
To it. And then once you've got it flat, it's a lot faster and you get a much nicer finish. So I'm just going to quickly whiz through this. We've done a lot of the work. I'm sure you watched my plastering videos before, but I'm going to speed skim it, and then we're going to go over it, trowel it, and then finish it. So we just added a little bit of water at the bottoms, coming all the way up, but it pulls in so nicely with hard water.
It does when you go in next day, but it don't when you fucking only had it on for 4 hours. It'd be fucking, there'd be bubbles everywhere. It'd be piss wet through, especially with no suction on that painted wall.
It just pulls it in, and you know that the plaster's really stuck to that base coat there. So just add a little bit of water, a lot of pressure when you're finishing on the hard wall. You need a lot of pressure because the plaster's constantly sucking the moisture out of it. But once you get used to it, it's a lovely product to work on, and it gives you a lovely finish. So, work it up. But you can see the wall's just getting flatter and flatter. Yeah, it's a nice, smooth finish. And then one great way to flatter walls is cross troweling. It's a great time now to cross trowel the plaster. We've done a few verticals, come across, and it really helps get the plaster extra flat. So, start at the end.
I think my camera's of a
A lot of pressure, pushing that trowel right
nearly
in.
end.
Then we go all the way, and come back.
Something's overheating. I've just seen a warning sign, but I'll bear with it. Hopefully it'll not go off. Hello?
And just get that wall flatter and flatter.
Sounded like seagulls.
That's what it's all about.
Cross troweling it. Best part about plastering a wall is cross troweling it, because you know you're at fucking end. You're getting paid money, cash money. Come on, mate, you need to be going down a bit. You've fucking been on that bit for
It's another tip. Cross troweling, vertical. But then after this, we're pretty much done with the plastering. We're not quite there and finished yet, but there's not many more strokes we can do. We're nearly finished. So maybe one wet trowel, one dry trowel, and that'll be it finished. So that is the best way to get your walls dead flat in plastering, using no plasterboard adhesive, just solid plaster. If you like this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to our channel. And if you want...
So, video has gone off on bottom, so I'm going to have to do my summing up on this video. He's done a good job. I can't... obviously, I've picked some spots as I've been going off, and again, it's one of them. It's when you're doing a video, your mind's racing and that you're trying to think of everything. I think when he looks back on this with me picking spots out of it, he'll realise about physical key, mechanical key. That I don't know. I'm tipping that he knows. Put in comments, Mister. Go on, what they call them, Mr. Plastering for Beginners. Did you know what a physical key was and a mechanical key and difference? Or have I learnt you something? If I have, you're welcome. And if I haven't, then yeah, we put it down to him being he's thinking about his job, so he's thinking about this and that. And I've done it. Like I said, look back through my videos, you'll be able to pick spots out of them all. Nobody's perfect. He's done a good job, but I think that he's fucking lied. So I think there's been a bit of white lies in there. I think that weren't skimmed same day, especially when you add up how long a day he's been there. So yeah, I think he's just said a few white lies. But other than that, because I didn't know whether I'm hoping they're going to be able to edit this together near end, because it's been a bit of a disaster. I'll have to write down, edit it this way, because my camera's just overheated. I don't know whether the battery was low or what, but enjoyed that video. Yeah, really good. Told people how to, with straight edge and, how to straighten it off and everything. Would I do out different? I think if it were me, obviously go from fucking right to left, I'd have a bigger trowel, bigger handboard, I'd have got it on quicker. But for young people watching it, yeah, they'll probably get put off by seeing him putting backing plaster on. But if you go to college, they'll start you off on a sand and lime render, and that's how you learn, because sand and lime is quite heavy, and then when you do get on site and you start using lightweight stuff, it's lighter, but you'll probably be just dry lining anyway if you're doing plastering. So yeah, I think we're gonna I'm gonna wrap it up. All I'll say is this: look, so our sonny, my son, he leaves school this time. He's wanting to be a fucking plasterer, so I can't talk him out of it. I can't sort of put him off or out like that and say it's hardest trade going. He's got to learn for himself. So he's going to be jumping in at deep end, and I don't know whether he's going to work with me. I don't know. We'll see if we can get him on with somebody, because I'm not busy enough to be skimming and plastering all the time and get him his skills that he needs. So he's going to have to go with somebody who can, who's plastering probably. So we'll have an ask around here and get him on with them doing a bit. So yeah. So I'll be showing him these. He's probably looked him up already. So and because he don't ask me out, he probably thinks his dad don't know no. Even though I wasn't top 1%. So from a top 1%, I'm going to wrap this up. Well, I'm saying I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, I am. I'm going to wrap it. I was trying to think of something else. All adverts have been on. I don't want to bore you. So until next one, that's DampSam signing off. Bye bye now. See you later.